Aside from Dark Digivolution and, well, Death Digivolution, I guess one of the scarier types of Digivolution in Digimon is X-Antibody or X-Evolution. And whether that's scary because the forms are more fearsome or because they managed to mess up some perfectly good Digimon, despite what some of my very early Digimon videos might tell you, there are actually some X-Antibody Digimon that I like. And more than just like, I actually think they are better or more interesting designs than the Digimon that the X-Antibody transformed. So today I am listing my top 10 because
it's Karn's Spooktober Spectacular.
What is up, digital creatures? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. And yes, 10 X-Antibody Digimon that I think are improvements upon the original design. Whether that I feel the original design was lacking something or that the X-Antibody Digimon folds in more elements that I think are really cool for that Digimon. In my opinion, and I really need to stress for this that it is just my opinion, it is totally subjective, not even remotely objective. The beauty of opinion is that we all have different opinions. And so this is not me saying these are objectively the top 10, these are my top 10. And real quick, if you're watching this video, it would really help if you subscribe to this channel. You can like and leave a comment too, that is also super helpful. YouTube's going through some algorithm shift right now, views are fluctuating across the whole platform, so subscribing really does help. And you can always unsubscribe in the future if you change your mind, I totally get it. So without further ado, let's begin with number 10.
Number 10.
And that is Gomamon X. I think it just brings a much more concentrated level of cuteness to Gomamon. And I think that kind of lack of cuteness might be what puts some people off of Gomamon. The adventure partners are all pretty cutesy, but I feel like a lot of people don't make Gomamon their favorite because he's slightly odd, although I do love Gomamon for the record. I also feel like Gomamon X might be a slight homage to the V-Tamer version of Gomamon. The Gomamon in V-Tamer having slightly bigger eyes and a little bit more cutesy of a body. And that's why I think Gomamon X really delivers, because it didn't feel the need to make it super edgy or completely different. It just feels like a more concentrated, cute Gomamon. I want a plush of it so badly, Bandai.
Number 9.
Then is Togemon X-Antibody, and I like Togemon fine.
What the fuck does she know about cameras?
But I think Togemon X just kind of makes for a more interesting Digimon. The punching cactus vibes are fine of base Togemon, but folding in some of that sombrero and poncho into it just makes it feel like a more complete Digimon. Plus I love the little fire coming out of its mouth in the official design. And it does something that I'm always fond of, and that is kind of lore connections, because there is the Sincerity Armor Digimon Ponchomon that Palmon became in Adventure 2020, which has a very similar look. It almost looks like Ponchomon is the ghost brother to Togemon X. Again, as with all the Digimon on this list, I think Togemon baseline is absolutely fine, but I do think Togemon X is such a nice simplistic improvement without going too far.
Number 8.
And my 8th pick is Omega Shoutmon X, or Omni Shoutmon X. Cross Wars is such a kind of Gundam Megazord-y season. I always felt Omega Shoutmon, while probably deliberate, was a little bit too stripped back and simplistic. Spindly even, especially for a form powered up by Omnimon. While the X-Antibody form doesn't necessarily fix the spindliness, it really does lean into the design and the kind of design philosophy of Cross Wars, with the mech and robotic elements feeling a lot more of an intimidating and powerful presence than its non-X-Antibody predecessor.
Number 7.
Number 7 is Metal Garurumon X-Antibody, and I talked about this a lot in my Garurumon ranking video, which you should definitely check out, but there's this ongoing theme that I think is in place between Garurumon and Greymon species, of going between bipedal and quadrupedal. So you've got the Ancient Greymon and Garurumon, you've got Crest Garurumon and Blitz Greymon, regular War Greymon, regular Metal Garurumon, and of course their X-Antibodies, and I just think that Metal Garurumon X feels like more of a regular Were Garurumon evolution, as well as, of course, a Were Garurumon X evolution. Something that I always thought was kind of cool about Were Garurumon was its kind of grungy, punky vibes, and those just kind of disappear in Metal Garurumon. Probably, again, intentionally. I'm not necessarily criticizing the design choice. It's probably totally valid that Were Garurumon grew up and became more of a robotic future dog, Blade Wolf looking guy. But Metal Garurumon X feels more true to Were Garurumon. I've called it the war machine of Digimon before, and it really does feel like that way to me. I just love this design so much. And I may fight its corner a little bit more than I do other X-Antibody Digimon, because I'm a little bit disappointed that Omnimon X-Antibody doesn't really feature any easily identifiable Metal Garurumon X elements. It just looks like a generic spiky Metal Garurumon. So yeah, I really do prefer Metal Garurumon X to regular Metal Garurumon.
Number 6.
My number 6 pick is Karn EX. I really love Karn, actually. There was a time in my life where I think I wanted Karn to be my Digimon partner, but I think I've always been more fond of Digimon like Kuramon, Sumemon, Infamon, and Diaboromon in its line than Karn itself. Karn X-Antibody, I think, really feels like a Digimon virus, especially in the context of our war game. The fact that it's got these 3 heads that are like going through mitosis is incredibly creepy, and I do love the little touch of the wings in the back. That's very cool. While maybe you could accuse this design of being over-designed, this is like kind of my de facto Karamon now. This is my favorite version of Karamon. So we're really putting the subjective into this subjective list with this one, because I can see how some people would much prefer base Karamon, but to me, Karn EX is just way cooler.
Number 5, Davis.
Alright, number 5 is possibly gonna be controversial. I don't know. It's Impmon X. I like base Impmon a lot, and I think I like his character in Tamers a lot more than I perhaps like his design. It is decent, but perhaps a little basic. I don't know. Impmon X-Antibody, I think, perfectly jazzes up the design without going too far. Turning the bandana into these kind of like spiky Tetsuya Nomura wings is very cool, and I like the fact that he has blue and red fire. In addition to that, I think the smiley face belt really helps break up the design a lot better than the placement of the smiley face in the original Impmon. Makes his midriff feel a little bit less weird. In addition to that, I love that they gave him this eye patch. It feels very cool. I see a lot of people who aren't sold on the Impmon to Wizardmon connection, although I personally think Impmon, Wizardmon, Balmon, and Beelzemon is a really solid line. And I think Impmon X and Wizardmon X, who I'm not sure is better than base Wizardmon, were specifically designed to illustrate that connection, because those two definitely look like a Digivolution line. So yeah, Impmon X to me adds elements that I think were missing from the base design without going too crazy, and that is what I want from an X-Antibody.
Number 4.
And speaking of, is Leomon and Pangemon. Both their X-Antibody designs are really interesting to me. They take so much of the base Digimon and add just a couple of little tweaks that really make them stand out. The capes are a genius idea, but of course the big focus here of Leomon X and Pangemon X is their distinct weapons. Something that's always frustrated me about Pangemon as a Leomon variant or Leomon evolution is that it's just a recolor, but the X-Antibodies actually make them distinct Digimon. Pangemon X getting a very Sorcerymon similar weapon, and of course Leomon X getting this awesome broadsword or buster sword of sorts. And I think there was even deliberate effort to make Pangemon X's beard feel more kind of Viking-esque or Nordic, while Leomon X retains more of a standard lion's mane like Leomon itself. The reason these are so high up on these lists is that I do generally kind of prefer them to the base version, but also they help to remove that sameness. I like recolored variants, we did a whole video on it, but they're not my favorite type of variant, and I like it when we mix things up. I think as it's often used as an evolution, not just a variant, they could have done more with Pangemon. So Leomon X and Pangemon X together represent that acknowledgement to me.
Number 3.
But what is a Leomon without its Ogremon? And again, I like Ogremon. It's a good design. For the premise of, you know, Bone Club, Ogre, kind of dumb guy, I think it works just great. But Ogremon X is just something special. The metal aesthetic, turning his club into a guitar that is a literal axe. Rock on, Ogremon. I just adore this. It's got some death metal vibes, it's got some Kiss vibes, and a really understated part that I love about this is that shock of red in its white hair, and of course it's got those spiked wristbands. I think if you knew a metalhead at any point in your life, I definitely was never one, you will recognize those wristbands. And I also like that they put the X across the guitar axe, because that is either literally or at least evokes blood. Shout out to his Gene Simmons tongue too, I love it.
All right, keep it in your mouth, rockstar.
As a former teenage metalhead, I love you, Ogremon X. Rock on.
Number 2.
And then at number 2 is the very recently revealed Greymon Blue X-Antibody. Now listen, is this recency bias? Maybe, shut up. When I first saw this design, I absolutely loved it. It really improves upon Greymon Blue's design. There's nothing wrong with Greymon Blue being kind of basic, but because I love Metal Greymon Virus so much, I kind of always wanted something slightly cooler for its champion. But Bandai also did something super cool with Greymon Blue X-Antibody and added elements of the 2010 Greymon too. So Blue Greymon X-Antibody acts as this kind of design fusion of the two Greymons, or the two Blue Greymons, making something that feels very cool, very distinctive, and yet yet not overly designed or far too edgy, which I absolutely adore. You can really tell that they put deliberate effort into folding those references in here and to making it a fun design. And they basically did all that just so they could have a fitting Greymon for an upcoming Digimon card game set. Absolutely incredible. He's just so striking. I feel like when I look at them side by side, I'm looking at a virgin blue Greymon versus Chad blue Greymon X-Antibody meme.
Number 1.
And finally, number 1 is Mantareymon X, Tylermon X, and Tyrannomon X. If you've been watching this channel long enough, you know that I am a huge fan of Armored Digimon, and I have some very specific criteria for what I want out of Armored Digimon. We have a whole series where we do custom art with Fuzzy Comics fixing Armored Digimon that I don't think meet the mark. So when we look at Mantareymon X, Tylermon X, and Tyrannomon X and compare them to their non-X-Antibody versions, you can probably see why I love them so much, because, well, they're armored. They actually feel like they might be using the Digimental, or at very least, are actually armored. Tyrannomon X improves on Tyrannomon, giving it much more of a jet fighter feel than the original had, although it was still there in the original design. Tylermon X just ups the stakes of base Tylermon, and I think does something a lot cooler with that blade fin. And Mantareymon X is honestly probably the best of all three to me. It is such a simple upgrade, but it works so well, and I love the electricity ball forming in its design. We are going to fix the reliability armors, but I almost feel like someone at Bandai was like, man, I'm not happy with these Digimon. What if we fix them a little bit? So to me, this is a textbook definition of what I want from this video. Improve on the original design, do something a little bit more interesting, add in features that were missing from the original design, and again, the one that I think is most important, not going too out the edge. But that is it, my personal top 10 X-Antibody Digimon that I believe are better or at least improve on the original design. Great minds do think alike, and my buddy Air from Lost in Translation Mon also did a video where they talked about X-Antibody Digimon that they think improved upon the originals. So go check that out, the card is on screen right now. Huge shout out to my sovereign ZDK14 as well as everyone else who supports this channel with their hard-earned money. Look at all those beautiful names, and check out the video below me because it is one that YouTube knows you will love from my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, I'll see you with the next Spooktober video, and goodbye fiends, ghouls, and ghosts.